Welcome to the Careers by Jenn podcast, episode 283. Today on the podcast, Jenn discusses expectations versus reality. Or, if you're as entitled as a lot of people seem to be the last few years, just reality. Yours, theirs, and why they're wrong.
You're listening to the Careers by Jenn podcast. I'm your host, Jenn Swanson. This is the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. Careers by Jenn is a listener-sponsored podcast, and if you like the content, please consider supporting the show as a patron. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Head over to CareersbyJenn.com and click on Support to learn more. The Oxford English Dictionary defines the word expectation like this. Number 1, a strong belief that something will happen or be the case. Number 2, a belief that someone will or should achieve something. And number 3, which is archaic, one's prospects of inheritance. While the inheritance sounds great, I'm going to talk about the first two, and I'm going to talk about what others expect of you, and more importantly, what you expect of yourself versus what is reality, what is real. So if you are someone who feels like you are constantly falling short of everyone's expectations, including and especially your own, stick around. This could get interesting. Do you want someone to listen? Do you need help setting goals for yourself? Do you want someone to keep you accountable for your progress and to ask good questions that will help to move you toward your success? Have you got a resume that you want reviewed or updated? Do you need help deciding what kind of work you'd like to transition into? If any of these sound like you, I've got some coaching spaces open at Careers by Jenn, and I would be happy to work with you to achieve your goals. From a single session resume review to multi-session career or life coaching, there are several packages to choose from. Go to CareersbyJenn.com, click on online programs, and you will see the coaching packages on the courses page. Select your package and let's get started on your future today. Welcome to this podcast that is recorded on the unceded and traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, including the Matsqui, the Kwantlen, the Katzie, the Semiahmoo, and the Stolo First Nations people. I'm Jenn, and I'm very glad that you're here today. This topic was a listener request, and so my gratitude goes out to Elizabeth Krajewski of virtuwellsolutions.com. Elizabeth is an avid podcast listener and has suggested a few topics that I may happen to use over the next while. If you have a burning topic to suggest, please let me know. I only have a few episodes left to produce, but I am still open to ideas, and I do have some already recorded special guests to bring to you. Now let's jump into expectations versus reality. First, let's talk about the two kinds of expectations, yours and those that others have of you. Now, of course, in your career, there are certain expectations that your employer has of you. You know, you must do the work that you're paid to be doing. And there are expectations around things like competency and time frames and productivity and professional behavior, etc. You know, what time you show up, how late you stay, whether or not you take your breaks, etc. And in order to keep whatever job you happen to have, you need to fulfill basic expectations in these areas. In order to succeed or excel, you need to exceed them. Going the extra mile, helping others if you've finished your tasks and have time, you know, being kind, helping to train new people, being generous with your knowledge, getting things done efficiently, being positive and taking initiative, sharing your ideas and innovations that help to further the mission and the vision of the organization. All of these are good and even excellent things to do as long as you are doing them within healthy boundaries and within the limits of your own energy and time. Well, what happens is when others have expectations of you that you can't or won't fulfill for whatever reason, what happens when that happens is things don't go well. Too much to do and not enough time is an example. Maybe things are piled on you that you aren't comfortable taking on, or that you don't have the skills or any idea even how to do these things. Maybe there are expectations put on you that trample your values and your ethics. There are rational and decent and good expectations that others may have of you, and that you will do what you say, or you do what you say you will do, is one example. You're true to your word. You ask for help when you need it. When you're at your limit, you have to say no. You complete your work on time and with efficiency. These are all healthy and good and real expectations. But there are unhealthy expectations that others might put on top of you. And it's really good to know what your limits are, what your boundaries are, and for you to be able to say, is this a realistic expectation that is being put upon me? Is this within my job description? Is this within my ethical or value-based beliefs? Is this something that I'm willing to do? And these are really, really hard questions sometimes to ask. What happens when these expectations defy reality is that we get into trouble. And if we aren't able to step back and look at what's happening with some kind of objectivity, with some kind of perspective, then you can feel like you're drowning in other people's demands and other people's expectations. And sometimes that comes down to difficulty in being able to say no when you need to say no. So setting boundaries. Sometimes it is you want to be nice and you want to be seen to be doing a good job, and so you don't want to say no. Sometimes it's ego-based. And when it's ego-based, it's all about how it looks to everybody else, right? And that's when we can get into really dangerous territory. Why am I doing this thing? Am I doing it because I'm able to do it? I have energy to do it. I want to do it. I have goals I want to advance, and I want to learn and stretch and grow. Great. Go for it. Is it too much, but I don't want to say anything, because if I say anything, then I'll look like I'm not doing, not interested, and then people might not like me, or, so it's just taking a step back. If you can, take a breath and take a look at what's going on here. What is going on here? And why am I afraid to say I can't? I don't think so. Not right now. Like, what's going on? Is it ego related? Is it fear-based? Why am I saying yes when the reality is I know that I absolutely won't be able to get all of this done, whatever this is? So the other kind of expectations are the ones we set for ourselves, which sometimes can be good and exciting and energizing and get us towards our goal fast. Make us feel accomplished. But then there are the goals that we set for ourselves that are unrealistic, too much pie in the sky. I am sorry. I am using very tired cliches today. I am tired. It is the end of a long day when I'm recording this, and a day of much unrest for some of you listening. This is January 6th when I'm recording it. And some of you listening today across the border from me, my heart is heavy, as I know that many are suffering. Things are fragile and volatile, and so if you are feeling this way when you listen to this, please know that you are not alone. And healing vibes and prayers of peace and much courage and care are being sent to you from me and from many, many, many of us around the world. What a challenging time we are living in. Expectations we set for ourselves are often unrealistic. I am preaching to myself here, my friend. I do this all the time. I have started this new schedule of producing 2 YouTube videos and a podcast per week on top of working 3/4 time in my other job and having a coaching practice and looking after my family and yet here I am doing it. Right? But my house, I'm really glad you can't come over to my house. My house needs a really, really good dusting and a really good floor washing. And it needs a really good scrub top to bottom, needs a spring cleaning. And I'm letting go of, other than keeping it somewhat tidy and livable, I'm letting go of keeping it perfect right now because nobody can come over anyway because of lockdown and all of the rest of it, but also because I have decided to focus on boosting my business and moving everything over to YouTube. And so that is my focus on this part of my work life. And so something has to go. Something has to be let go of at least a little bit. And so that's the key to managing expectations we set for ourselves. When we say yes to something, what are we saying no to? Because if we keep saying yes to everything, at some point we're going to break, right? So you can't put high expectations on yourself and then try to take on 50 things and still have a clean and undisastrous looking home and cook all the meals from scratch and work out and because if you do that, you might burn out or worse, get sick. And again, I speak to myself because this is the personality that I have, is perfectionism, which is not a badge of honor. Also meeting everyone's expectations and then meeting my own, which are very, very high. And so I have to let go of some things. It's the struggle that I have, the expectations that I put on myself. I personally don't have a problem meeting the expectations I think that other people have of me. But I say I think because one way to be sure what the expectations are that other people have of you is to ask, is to have a reality check and periodically ask for feedback so that you are sure that you are on track. It's not good to be going along thinking that you're doing great and you're meeting everybody's expectations in your job, and then you come to the performance review at the end of the year and find out that you weren't holding up their expectations on this point or that point, right? So it's really, really important to ask for feedback and then to pay attention to it so that you are sure that you are meeting other people's expectations. If you're failing in something, then you can course correct and get back to meeting or exceeding that expectation that's in question. So I highly encourage asking for feedback and listening to it and then integrating it, doing something with it. The expectations that I struggle with are the ones that I put on myself. Oh, sure, I can bake for the holidays and send out 35 or 40 Christmas cards and have a beautifully decorated home and work 2 jobs and run a business and hang out with all my friends and family on Zoom and exercise every day and meditate every day and spend quality time with my spouse and my kids and cook delicious food from scratch and grocery shop and blah, blah, blah. Right. Nope, not enough hours in the day. So I didn't send all the Christmas cards I wanted to send. I only sent some of them. And the rest of the people got emails from me or texts or phone calls, which isn't the same, but that's the boundary I had to set. I did not have a perfectly decorated house because guess what? No one was allowed to come over anyway because of pandemic lockdown. So why bother? We decorated a little bit, but we did not even put ornaments on the tree. We just put lights on it. And one little ornament that said 2020, the year we stayed home, and had a roll of toilet paper on it. that was that. Did I bake? Yes. And I baked because we have a number of people in our family who are gluten-free, who are vegan, who are unable to eat certain things. And I made baking care packages for all of my immediate family and ran around delivering them to everyone. Did I cook yummy food from scratch? Only on some nights. And some nights Scott did it, and some nights one of the kids did it. And then we ordered a crazy amount of Chinese food on Christmas Eve. And that was our Christmas Day dinner. And I think we ate it for about 4 days after that. It was amazing. And all the while I was working, right? So yes, I completely understand the whole expectation question. And so I'm asking you, what is on your plate? Whose expectations are you trying to meet? When you feel like you're failing or you're exhausted, or as if that to-do list is haunting you and will never ever be done, are you able to ask yourself, by looking at this list, who am I trying to satisfy expectation-wise? And where can I cut myself some slack? Like, what on this list can I leave for now? Can I let go of for now? Because it's not just all the things on your plate that are stressing you out, my friend. That might be a big, big piece of it. All of the things that are on your plate might be the majority of what is stressing you out. But there's a global pandemic going on, and it's been going on for a long time. I am recording this in January, and we've been at this since last March. And while we've had some good news with the vaccines, etc., it's still going to be quite some time before we all have had safe vaccinations and are able to function somewhat normally again. And it's tiring and it's frustrating. And those of us who are sensitive types feel the stress and the grief and the fear in the air and in our bones. And so you don't just have your own stuff going on. There is a global thing, and that energy is in the air. And you are carrying that around on top of your to-do list in your body. I firmly believe that. There's political unrest. There's the fact that we can't hug our loved ones. There's so many things we can't do right now. There is job loss. There are financial struggles. And there's lots and lots of sickness and death. And all of this collectively contributes to why we might be feeling exhausted and overwhelmed, and why sometimes the expectations we put on ourselves have to be looked at with some kindness and some self-compassion. It's okay if you don't feel 100% every day. It's okay to not check some of the things off of your list as long as they're not critical to your job or your life. It's okay to set some things down and say, these will have to wait for another day or another month or another season. It's okay to ask for help if you need it. And in fact, that's encouraged. And it's okay to let people know that you're tired and you're having an off day or you're not feeling right because of all that's happening. Maybe you can begin tomorrow. Who is placing the expectation on you? Is it a critical expectation? Will the world come to a standstill if you don't do this one thing today? And can you practice a little self-care and a little self-love and admit that the reality of it is you might just need a rest, and then you can begin again tomorrow? I don't know the answer to these questions, but I'm putting them out there for you to think about, for you to really think about. What are the expectations? Whose are they? How critical are they? Are they ego-related, or can they be gently and compassionately set aside for now so that you can recharge and refocus and do what matters most? What is the most important thing right now in your life and in your job? What are the most important things? And can you let some of the other things go if you need to? Well, thanks for listening, my friend. And if you haven't yet, check out Careers by Jenn over on YouTube, where my ambitious high expectations. We'll see how that goes, where I'm trying to live them out. So check that out. And be gentle with yourself. Stay healthy, take good care, and may grace and peace be with you. You've been listening to Careers by Jenn with Jenn Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. You know, if every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.